Uh, okay, there we go. That's better. So again, glad to be here. I know many of you on the call here. Just a quick introduction of myself. Again, my name's Quentin Gunther. I actually lead the Resideo Premier Security Dealer Program. I've been in the industry for about 31 plus years. Don't ask me where that time goes. I was talking to my wife the other night. I said it was kind of interesting. I came into this industry because the industry I was in was making some changes. And I actually went through an employment agency and got matched up with a local company that I started working for. And I remember telling my wife, I'll just do this until I kind of figure out what I really want to do. And now it's 31 plus years later, and I'm still in this industry, which I'm very proud to be a part of. I was a dealer for 21 years before coming over to the manufacturing side. And here we go again with another communication sunset and upgrade. And we will be talking about a lot of different pieces here. My agenda today is really going to just talk about some of the risks associated with the sunset. There are real tangible risks in not getting on board with this as quickly as possible. I would assume that at least most of you by now have put some type of plan in place. Maybe you'll pick up a few things today that just helps you tweak that plan. If you haven't put a plan in place, there's still time, and hopefully you'll pick up at least maybe a roadmap or an idea of what to go forward with. We'll talk about just some key strategies today. First of all, man, how do you really locate your 3G data? And guys, I'll try to keep this kind of agnostic on the manufacturing side. Just about any of the manufacturers should have some way of you locating where that data is at. So again, you can put your plan. So Alan, to your question, what should you start with first? Really it comes down to, hey, let me look at the data. Let me look at the devices I have out in the field first, and then make that decision based on that. We'll talk about some best practices on how to tackle it, things to consider, and then we will talk a little bit about as far as what are Resideo's future plans to make this easier the next time around. Okay, so again, hopefully you pick up one or two things from today's presentation, and again, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. And just I like to keep it interactive. Guys, I'd just like to quickly talk about Resideo for just a second. I like to introduce at least who we are and talk a little bit about what's happened in the 2.5 years since the spin. And already it feels like that was a lifetime ago, but it was really just 2.5 years ago. We spun off from Honeywell. Just a quick introduction of who Resideo is, but that number now, I need to update the slide. We have about 14,500 employees that are built into Resideo. If you look at our product lines, as far as what we are trying to really focus our attention on, is one, we want to stay focused on the pro channel. We know you guys are the experts at delivering our products and services out there, and we're very proud of the fact that not only do we have the residential market covered, but we also have small business covered with our product portfolio, and we really cover across security, kind of our water, heating, and our air, and then energy management now. And again, we're just trying to really position ourselves to be your solution for the entire connected home, on top of the security portfolio that you guys are always used to using. So guys, let me just talk about just in review, right? So we know that we see these sunsets on average about every 5 years. I remember the amps upgrade. I was still a dealer back when we had the upgrade amps, and then at 2G doesn't seem like it was that far back. If we look at 3G right now, 2022, even Verizon will be done with those upgrades. And then as far as, LTE, interesting, I was on with Michael Doyle with AT&T on a call yesterday. 2027 is kind of a question mark because they're thinking it could be even further, 28, 29, or even 30, that LTE is still with us. So we may actually have a little longer time period with LTE than just what you see on the slide right now. But again, guys, that is very fluid. Why do these sunsets occur? It's all about technology. Our industry does not drive this. It is all the consumers that are driving these sunsets. And it's really about bandwidth. The carriers need this bandwidth as consumer demand goes up for just the speed in which data needs to get to these devices. That's what 5G is really all about, is these incredible speeds that will allow customers to do things, that frankly, you just can't do even with LTE. So again, it's not our industry driving it. It affects us immensely, but it really is consumers that are driving what these carriers are doing out there. Again, we all know what a sunset is. It's just really a matter of, hey, carriers have to update their equipment. Again, they need that bandwidth that just obsoletes what was used before. You see a couple of important dates on there, right? February 2022, as far as for the AT&T HSPA. Now, there's a lot of confusion sometimes about 4G. Guys, 4G is 3G. It's just the HSPA network. 4G is just the HSPA plus network, but both of those networks are HSPA, and they're all going down in February of 2022. Verizon's going to be a little bit later, December of 2022, which is basically 11 months to our first deadline. Now, guys, I always try to at least talk about, if you don't have a plan right now, then you should at least be doing the math. And by that, I mean, you need to understand the number of 3G accounts that you have currently, and you need to divide by the number of months. And that's going to give you an idea of at least the gravity of the situation in front of you, and at least how intense or how serious you should be getting about this problem. You know, I just used an example on the slide that, you know, if you've got 1,000 accounts on AT&T right now, you've got roughly 11 months to do this, which works out to about 91 accounts per month that you've got to get done, 23 a week, 5 a day. And I'm sure you can recognize the math does not get better each month that you wait, okay? So there is no reason to wait. You should be getting started with this right now. Great news is that whereas we were, as a manufacturer, kind of fretting a little bit towards the end of 2020 that we weren't seeing enough action being taken by our dealers, just when we looked at the number of swaps that were occurring, I can tell you that it's very good to see right now the number of swaps that started basically in January of 2021 just keeps increasing. So we see, at least our dealers in the industry, seems to be taking this very, very serious now, okay? Just when we look at the total number of swaps that are occurring out there, okay? Any questions up to this point, or? Okay, I'll keep rolling along here. So guys, you know, I like to talk about the risks as viewed from different areas, okay? And one of the first risks I always look at are just from a buyer standpoint. Now, guys, maybe no one on this call is ready to start selling or thinking about selling their company, but look, our industry, RMR is why we're in the industry, and that's really going to determine our value when we get out of the industry or get out of the business. But one of the things that I always do mention to people is, hey, some of the risks, maybe you're not thinking about selling now, but you know, I can tell you right now, from a standpoint of the buyers out there, they are substantially discounting any acquisitions that they're doing based on the number of 3G accounts that are on the books. Some buyers are not even buying those accounts. There was a huge acquisition done, I think, right before Christmas. I won't name the company, but in that acquisition, I can tell you they did not buy any of the 3G accounts, okay, which was a substantial number. And they're only buying those 3Gs as the dealer actually upgrades them, okay? And if they do buy, we're seeing significant discounts. I mean, they're basically baking into the to the sale of that business the number of 3G accounts, and they could be discounting anywhere from $150 to $300 per account just by the number of 3Gs that are there. For some smaller companies that do maybe sell their agreements, as we get closer to the deadlines, you know, some of the banks may not lend, or they may offer lower advance rates based on the number of 3Gs. So I always like to mention this, that there are other risks other than just what it may do to your manpower and your capacity to do new systems if you wait too long, okay? I do think there are liability risks by not getting this done. And by that, I mean, you know, what is your liability if the deadline comes and you have a customer that you haven't upgraded yet? Do you feel like you can still be collecting recurring revenue from that customer? Okay. And the industry view is that that's probably going to open you up to a lot of liability if you're continuing to bill and collect for services that you can't render, that you knew you were not going to be able to render because the notices were there, and you should have taken the action to get that customer upgraded. Okay. So I can tell you, like during the 2G swap, some of the big major companies out there, any customers that had not upgraded, they quit billing at that point, okay, and basically did disconnect notices or at least termination notices for those customers, okay, because the liability was too great there. And then procrastination, man, the longer you wait to do this, it's going to take away from the things that you should be doing, right? So the longer you wait, you could find that this is occupying so much of your time, just not only mentally, what you have to do to get this done, but just from a standpoint of your manpower, that you're not able to go out there and organically grow and find a new business. Does that make sense? Okay. It just takes away what you have to do. Now, for us, we'll talk about, at least for me, I think this is a huge opportunity for most businesses, okay? I still think, and this is not really a ding on anybody's particular company, I think this is a ding on an industry as a whole. We don't do enough to communicate to our existing customers sometimes, right? And guys, I came from the business for 20 years where, you know, you sold it, you put it in, you started billing or collecting for services, and you basically just didn't communicate with that customer going forward. You just, hey, as long as they're sending in the check each month, man, let's just kind of leave that alone. Let's don't rock the boat in any way, shape, or form. Guys, we are in a completely different world today. If you're not communicating with your customers, I promise you someone else is. And that's just from all the new competition out there, from your new players like Ring and Nest and Google and all these new players. So this really is an opportunity for us to communicate with our customers. And agreed, I know it's going to be a pain in the ass, and a lot of us will take that perception of it. But guys, this could be an opportunity. Okay. Now, so again, I think it is an opportunity for us. There's a lot of things that we could do here, again, to drive increased attach rates for new equipment, drive higher RMR with our customers. But if anything, it's just a touch point to really re-engage that relationship that we have, or we should be having, with our customers out there. Because I tell you, one of the things that we're seeing from an industry standpoint of the acquisitions being made out there is some of these big acquisitions are being made because not only are you buying accounts that's recurring revenue, but you're also buying a customer base that you can now market to, okay? And I think we have to look at, hey, organically, we want to always be looking for new business, but how do we take our existing customer base and drive higher attachment or additional products and services? And more importantly, how do we drive additional RMR with that customer base? So, you know, most of us are now starting to look at our existing customers as an important opportunity, and someone that we, or at least a group that we should be looking at as a selling opportunity out there. Again, you've heard me say, if you don't have a plan, please at least do the math. You're going to see me, or at least I think most manufacturers will really gear at least what they're offering to their dealer base around a couple of key areas. You know, for us, you know, we're making sure that we have lots of tools available for our dealers. So some of the things you'll hear me talk about today is that, hey, if you're familiar with our Vista panels out there, believe it or not, we actually have a DIY radio swap program for Vista panels, okay? May sound like, man, that's impossible to do, but it is. Tools available. We have lots of collaterals. So we have anything from bill stuffers to emails to different campaigns that you can use to reach out to your existing customers. Again, one of your biggest tools for us should be AlarmNet 360. That's really where your data should be coming from. We even have a website now with our LTE landing page that really gives you all access to the things that I'm going to talk about here today. Most manufacturers are offering some type of rebate, and for us, it's just a way of helping offset some of the costs. Because again, guys, we have just as much at stake here as you do. You know, again, we want to offer those costs for your existing swaps, and for us, we're also offering rebates for competitive swaps out there too. And then we are offering some upsell packages. So again, if you listen to me today, I think there's an opportunity here, one, to engage for the swap, but there's also an opportunity to upsell to, again, increase the loyalty level of your customer and to drive additional services that you could be offering there. So again, I'll be touching on really these three categories. Again, the tools that we have, we'll talk about the rebates, and then we'll talk about some of the different strategies going to market, maybe from an upsell standpoint. Guys, as far as tools, AlarmNet 360 is really going to be the place. If you haven't put a plan yet together, this is really going to be the place you go to see how many accounts. Just start off with that right there. How many accounts do you have that need to be upgraded? AlarmNet 360, man, is a fantastic tool to go to see exactly what you have. We actually have a page that's will show you on a map the number of devices you have out in the field. If you look at this example right here, it just shows the number of 2G devices that are on the system, the 3G, 4G, the number of CDMA devices out there, and the number of LTE devices out there. So this can quickly show you your exposure to this particular, I'm going to keep calling it opportunity, not a problem, okay? This data is there. If you haven't been into AlarmNet 360, please reach out to anyone on the Resideo team. We'll be glad to kind of walk you through this. But for us, this is the page that really will lay out everything about your account base with AlarmNet and show you exactly the devices out there. And then if you look at this particular map, any of those bars that you see with the data, you can actually click on those bars and you can get a breakdown of exactly where those accounts are and the information behind it, okay? Hopefully everybody, again, is very familiar with AlarmNet 360. So here goes right to your original question, Alan. You know, what are the best practices to tackle this, right? So we think priority number one should be your AT&T cellular only accounts, right? So a couple of strategies you can do here. You can like look at all of your upgrades that have to take place, whether it's AT&T or Verizon, and just go attack it all. I would say you're getting down to 11 months. You're going to have to really, you know, cut this cake up into smaller pieces and go after it that way. And for me, you want to look at your AT&T cellular account onlys first. Okay, these are going to be the first to sunset. Okay, these are the ones that are basically 11 months from now are going to be sunsetting. Again, I would tell you start with accounts that have the Total Connect services enabled. These have more data. They're typically going to be your higher RMR customers. Also, they're the ones less likely to attrit. And by that, I mean, they see the value in what you're offering because they have an app that they're actually engaging with each day. They don't want to disconnect, okay? They want to keep that service that's very valuable to them because it's on this mobile device that they're actually interacting with each day, okay? But again, they're also your higher RMR customers that you can't afford to lose, okay? The next group that you want to tackle is going to be the ones who don't have Total Connect services or any other manufacturer. If they don't have interactive services, that's your second group. Now, this is a group that again will, you know, give you some opportunity because again, you can offer them a path to upgrade to the app. And then finally, you want to tackle any of the accounts that are in communication failure. Okay. Priority two is then go after your AT&T cellular and internet combo devices. This gives you some time. Again, they've already got internet, which is the backup. So if you don't get to them, you're still receiving signals to your central station. Make sense? So even if you don't get to them by the deadline hits, it can't communicate via cell. They are at least still billable customers because it's communicating via internet. Okay. And then again, priority three would be now your Verizon cellular customers. Okay. Because they're going to sunset about 10 months later. And then again, same thing with those. Priority four would be the Verizon cellular internet combo. Does that make sense? So that should give you a pretty good strategy. Start with your AT&T internet only, or I'm sorry, your cellular customers first. Things to, you know, what path are you going to take? And again, how late you wait is going to really determine a lot of this. You know, the longer you wait, the less opportunity you're going to have to take advantage of maybe the upgrade opportunities that are available to you. Okay. So here's some of the things that we talk about. I have some companies that just don't want to rock the boat. They just want to save the account. They want to replace it at cost, maybe with just a new agreement. They want to replace it for free with a new agreement. You know, whatever it is, they just don't want to rock the boat. They want to make it as easy as possible for the end user. Okay. The next group is what I call kind of level up the customer, kind of throw it off the competition. Here, you may want to replace it at cost with a new agreement and you add some services to it. And we'll talk about that. This leads to some of the strategies that are there. You want to replace it for free with a new agreement. Again, add services, replace it cost with additional equipment. And we'll talk about adding services, which may be increased RMR, or adding equipment, which could be kind of a loyalty play to keep the customer. And then another option is just, you know, a DIY upgrade on site. You know, I would tell you that, you know, some of the important things that you're going to want to do now is just, how do you notify your customers of this upgrade, right? You've got to communicate this somehow. Make sure that you're really engaging everyone, because I can promise you, if you do a mailer, it's expensive. Only a certain group are actually going to even open that and look at it. You can then do emails. Again, only a certain group are going to do that. You might do a text blast if you're set up with a company like Podium or something like that to your customers. But I guess what I'm getting to is nothing is going to be the silver bullet. You're going to have to try lots of different ways to communicate with your customer base to get this message across. Okay. And I would tell you, try lots of different things. It may be a bill stuffer with the bills talking about the upgrade. You know, who's going to handle the upgrades for you? What we have found with most companies that are really successful and what I call ahead of the curve with the process are typically someone who's assigned this project internally to an individual. that is going to stay on top of it. You know, they're going to be looking at 360 each day to see how many swaps actually occurred. You know, they're going to be, you know, staying on top of the different programs that you have. But I would really encourage you that either you're going to take the lead for this or you're going to assign it to someone in the company to do it. Okay. But again, think about the way you're going to communicate it, and then think about if you're going to put somebody in charge of this, and then how's it going to be handled internally. Those will really help you drive success with it. Here's to me kind of the biggest difference between 2G and 3G is we've got this huge opportunity now to talk about something that's really becoming kind of top mind awareness with so many of our customers. Is the smart home is really becoming of age now. So think about this again, when you're doing your 3G upgrades, you've got a group of consumers now that are at least aware of the smart home and may be open to the fact that, you know, they might be interested in upgrading their home with some of these new features. And I just put some of the statistics in here. If you look at, you know, video is hot. We know that 64% of customers, based on some of the data, would like to see video added to their system. When we think about adding life safety devices, which all of us got into this business because we like to keep bad things from happening to good people. So adding smoke and CO is another big addition. You know, adding more to their security that they haven't thought about before, you know. But again, I just want you to consider this when you're doing the upgrades right now, that we do have this opportunity that wasn't there with the 2G. And that's really just the awareness that's surrounding the smart home out there. Okay. And again, all of these can be chances for you to drive attachment of additional equipment to the home, and then also a chance to ask for additional RMR for some of these different services out there. Okay. So, you know, when you think about your campaigns for your 3G customers with older systems, some of your existing customers, right? You know, it could be around a new touchscreen keypad. It could be around a thermostat or maybe a video doorbell camera, new life safety devices. But again, these could be campaigns that you could really wrap your 3G upgrade messaging around. And guys, I always like to really say it like this. Look, let's face it, right? When we are forced by our, you know, when I have to go change my device here, man, because of a sunset, as a consumer, I'm getting some pretty cool stuff probably in return. Okay, I'm going to get the latest mobile device. It's going to have probably all these new cool features. It's going to have the fantastic new camera, but it really is something sexy that goes with the communication upgrade. That's not really the case if we just market to the consumer that we're just upgrading your communication path. Okay, you know, there's nothing sexy about, hey, we got to do this, and because it's important to get the signal to the central station. So if we can market maybe a new touch screen or some other new device, that could make it a heck of a lot more interesting and much more rewarding to the end user, that they see not only are they getting this communication path upgrade that has to occur, we're not responsible for this, the cell carrier made this happen, but hey, if we got to do it, let's maybe market to the customer some cool new features that would give them maybe that same experience they get when they have to upgrade their mobile device. Okay. So keep that in mind. There's really nothing sexy about this for your customer unless you make it something that's going to be exciting and maybe a new feature for them that really helps you drive loyalty with that consumer. You know, here I'm talking about some of the different ways you could look at this from a loyalty upgrade. And again, this is just different ways that we're talking about saving the account. You're going to see me talk about some of the strategies here. So you could market to the client, hey, we're going to upgrade your device, whatever that price is. I'm just giving you examples there. And at the same time, hey, Mr. Consumer, if you do this at this price, at this time, we're also going to offer you a upgrade that may cost you nothing, or maybe you even market it at reduced cost. But we're seeing this used a lot. You know, hey, Dale, we need to upgrade your system, and it's going to be $199. And by the way, for $199, we're also upgrading your keypad for you. Okay. Or we're adding some other device. And I'll talk to you in a minute about some of the packages that we've put together that really kind of reduced your cost for some of these components and let you pass this on now. Again, the benefit to you, it's really a loyalty reward for being, you know, part of our company for so many years. It's less expensive to you because while you're out there doing this radio upgrade, you're now able to take care of, you know, adding something to their services. I tell you, pick the simple stuff, right? Like, you know, for us, if you've got a Vista panel with an older keypad, very easy to upgrade it to one of our new touchscreens that really look nice and give a lot of cool features to your customer. Okay. And again, benefit to your end user is they're seeing that they've been rewarded for staying loyalty for you for so long. And they see this really tangible, cool new benefit instead of just something that got put in a closet someplace in a panel box that they can't see what that really did for them, you know? So again, it's just one option there. You know, in my company, you know, attrition was something we were always trying to avoid. You know, in my company, anyone that worked knew that based on the number of years that they were with us, they could offer a certain amount of free equipment. So for me, for each year that you were with us, that entitled you, if you called me for any reason to disconnect, we would offer up to $50 per year, and that's retail value in equipment. Okay. So, you know, just Alan, using you example, if you'd been with me for 4 years and you called me up and say, hey, Quentin, we're looking at switching to this other company, or we just are really looking at some of these offers, I could always look at your account. Oh, Alan's been with me 4 years. I'm willing to give Alan up to $200 to keep him. And I know that sounds, why would I do that, right? Well, I would just tell you the cost to acquire a new customer, I promise you, is way more than $200. When you think about your marketing costs, your installation costs, labor, you know, if you're paying a salesperson a commission for a new system, you know, $200 to me was a bargain. You know, that's retail value. Now, again, what is that costing me in equipment, a trip charge, maybe half that in $100, but it's a bargain to keep someone. So just think about that as one possibility as a loyalty upgrade. Another option is, hey, add new services to the customer. Okay. So again, you could market your radio at X, but then offer them some new feature or benefit that might bring a higher RMR to your company. So things for me are maybe smoke and life safety. And then also things like flood sensors today, man. I love flood sensors. They're something that most consumers working around. I'm guessing that's Thomas that's on the line there. Maybe we can get him to mute. There he is. So, you know, I look at things like flood sensors that, man, you know, it's like one of the #1 insurance claims out there. The sensors are typically very inexpensive. And if you propose it correctly, it has a lot of perceived value by the end user, right? You know, if you put a group of people together, most people can probably communicate some type of flood damage or water damage they've had in their home before. But again, it's a chance for you to, again, reward your customer for their loyalty to you. It's in most cases it's a simple wireless component upgrade, so it doesn't have a lot of costs involved in doing it. And it's also a chance for you to ask for a couple of extra dollars in RMR each month. Okay. So again, just another strategy there for you, just adding some new services. I do like to talk about, hey, you've got a group of customers out there that may want to DIY something. Okay. And I would encourage you to, one, we always want to be very hands-on with our customers. That's what sets us apart from so many other new players in our industry. But there are things in our business now that you could offer a DIY option to. And one of those things for us is the Vista radio upgrade. Now, is that going to work for all your Vista customers? No. But hey, if I could take maybe 5 or 10% of your existing Vista customers, send them a radio, and with our DIY Vista swap program, have them do it themselves, that's maybe 10% of my total account that I didn't have to roll a truck on, that I can save that labor cost, et cetera, to do different or to focus on something else. Now, benefits to your customer, it could be an option of, hey, Mr. Customer, if I have to roll a truck and do this, it's X, but you sound like you're a pretty handy guy. If you'd like to do this yourself, you could get this at a reduced cost, okay? So the customer gets to save some money because they may actually be doing it themselves. Hey, we're in a world today that we have a lot of our customers that are very leery about having someone in their homes right now. With COVID, they're very reluctant, particularly some of your older clientele. They don't want people in their homes right now. So if you get any resistance from that, maybe this is an option that you can do. But believe it or not, we have a very well thought out Vista DIY upgrade program. If you would like additional information on that, I would encourage you to reach out to Mike Larkin. He'll set up a call with you to literally go through this whole process. But we've created some pretty special instruction sheets. We have a video online, very, very simple, believe it or not. We've got several big customers that are doing this, and it does work, and it can help you reduce some of your truck rolls, particularly if you've got a lot of Vista systems out there. So again, another option for you. And then finally, I just call it the simple, the simple service that, or the preventative maintenance piece that you can do now. Again, we're seeing this done more and more as we think about these upgrades coming more and more often, right? And that's where you're offering, hey, let us come out and do the swap. Maybe you charge for it, but you put that customer on what I call like the communication assurance program, where you're charging them now $5 additional a month. And what that does is covers them for future communication upgrades. Okay. Now, I like this one a lot. Okay. One, I can charge higher RMR for. And when the next sunset comes, this is not a difficult conversation I have to have with anyone. I just am going to be setting a call to come replace your device. And Dale, because you joined our great community communication assurance program, guess what this costs you, Dale? Nothing. Okay. We just need to get out there and swap the device out. If you think about the math on that, let's say you charge just $5 more a month, and hey, that's $60 per year that you're putting aside for this over 5 years. If you think about that being the average, that's $300 you kind of got in the bank to take care of the next swap. Okay. And for most of us, we're going to make a little extra money on that by doing this type of program. Okay. But again, no silver bullet here. You may find that with your customer base, you're going to want to attack and offer all of these different offers to different groups of your customers out there. Okay. But again, we're seeing a lot of this where, again, just collect a little extra money up front each month to cover them now for the next sunset. And again, it's more money in the bank for you. And I don't know why my Alexa just kicked in, but she did. That's what you heard in the background there. But again, just another option for you. And then finally, what I call kind of the simple service. Right now, guys, if you don't do anything, one of the easiest thing to do is just every service work order that your team is going out there to perform service on, or every account that you're performing service on, they should be looking at that immediately. Is there a 3G device there? And you're going to replace it at the time of that service. Okay, you're just going to assume that this has to be done with the customer. Hey, I'm coming out to whatever the service call is for. And by the way, you've got one of our older devices that needs to be upgraded. We're going to take care of that while we're there. Okay. So every service call that you're doing right now, your team should be looking at, is there a 3G device there? And if there is, hey, we're going to take care of it. Now, you could also be doing this just from the standpoint of, hey, word a letter to all of your 3G customers right now that just assumes it. Hey, Mr. Customer, this is sunsetting on this date. We need to do a service call to upgrade this. Would Tuesday or Thursday of next week be better? Just assume the sale and make the appointment for it. Okay. But what I like about this type of program is that, one, you're already out there for the service call. Go ahead and do this. It just increases the efficiency of your company. It's really going to reduce the stress on your service department if you're just doing this automatically on every call that you have. And if there's a 3G device there, go ahead and get it swapped. Okay. Very simple to do. Now, we've got a lot of, yes, any questions? Or thought I heard something, but I'll keep going. So again, I gave you lots of different strategies that you saw there. Let me just talk about some additional tools that we have. We do have some special LTE upgrade pricing. I'm going to show you that in just a second. We do have additional swap and upgrade rebates that are available. I'll talk about those rebates. The 360 tools, you'll keep hearing me mention that. And then we've even got some, again, the DIY for Vista. We've got upgrade tools and playbooks there. We've even got a project calculator that I'll show you in just a second. And then most importantly, going back to the original piece that you have to start with, which is notifying your customers, we do have some sample letters and mailers that are available to you just to get that message across to your customers. Okay. So you'll see some examples here of that. So again, some of the tools, if you see that address there, resideo.com/LTE upgrade, that's where you will find, that's where we keep everything about this sunset. So the tools that are available there, you'll get more information about the Vista DIY program. All of our collaterals are there. So any of the pieces that you would like to use to communicate to your customers about it are there. We have a calculator built into it, so you can literally just kind of plug in the number of accounts that you have, and it'll calculate quickly the number that you need to be doing per month, per week, and per day. And then you'll also see some new stuff there. We've got some downloadable social media videos. So if your company has a social media presence or a Google My Business page. We've got videos that you can take off that and post on social media. Again, any way that we can communicate this to our customers, very important. We use all channels available to us, okay? And then there's even an LTE newsletter there that you can subscribe to keep you updated on the latest things that are going on. But again, we've invested in a lot of tools that are available to you. If you're part of our Resideo Premier Security Dealer program, we've got even additional resources there. If you're interested in that program, please reach out to myself or Michael Larkin. But we actually have additional LTE videos there. We have actual customizable materials being part of Premier. Okay, so Alan, you know, as being part of our Premier program, you can customize any of the collaterals with your logo and your company information, okay, before you send them out. And then we've got additional support just for my team. I get to manage 5 incredible individuals that all were dealers at one time. So if you would like to have one-on-one training with my team to maybe work with your customer care team that's going to be making these phone calls, maybe they need scripts on how to handle the phone calls, we've got those resources there for you. And we've got a great network that just shares best practices each and every day. So any interest in that program, we can even give you more resources that are available to you. As I said, we're trying to equip you with the right tools for success. So we do have some reduced pricings. Now, these are kits that you would have to work with Mike Larkin to get loaded for you. But again, us putting our money where our mouth is, if you would like to be able to offer maybe an LTE radio with a new 6290 touchscreen, we've got an offer there, great price. If you would like to offer it with a Wi-Fi tuxedo with all the new Z-Wave cool stuff, that's available. And then we've even got some kits that include, you know, a Z-Wave device or something for you. So again, you can come up with kits for your customers, make it very easy to upgrade them to some of the new features. My favorite kit right there is that water kit. For basically 130 bucks there, you get the radio with 4 5800 flood sensors. Again, very easy to market, very easy to convey the value to your end users. I mean, you know, you take a flood sensor and put it under each sink and in the washroom. That's easy to tell a great story about, right? And it's something you could charge an extra few dollars per month for, and it's easy to do while you're there doing the upgrade. And then finally, man, life safety, the cornerstone of our business. There's some packages there that might include the radio along with smoke and CO detector. So again, lots of packages that are available to you if you're interested, again, in putting that kind of program together where you're going for that loyalty play and being able to offer something at a reduced cost or no cost to your customer. We've got some great packages there for you to help you with that. Rebates. You can actually get up to $55 on any swap that you do with Resideo. Guys, man, very easy to do it this time. So we heard you loud and clear during the 2G sunset that, man, I don't want to be mailing in SIMS cards. I don't want to be filling out forms. We do all of that right into the 360 app, okay? But you can actually get $20 back on every swap that you do. You can get an additional 20 if you add smart home security or smart home package to that. And if you add video to the package service, you can get an additional $15. So anytime you upgrade the device and then upgrade services, you see you could get up to $55 back on any of those. Great thing is in AlarmNet 360, if you haven't seen it yet, there is a button there. It's our 3G dashboard and rebate page. And basically all you have to do is click on that. The next step is just basically, hey, choosing to replace an existing device. Your upgrade, you select your options. If you're just doing security, great. If you're adding smart video, and then the rebates are automatically calculated, okay? Now, we also offer that same program for the, what I call non-Resideo or competitive swaps out there. Again, you just create your new customer in AlarmNet 360, you select your programming options, you just see the list there. You just navigate to a competitive conversion. You enter the old radio manufacturers, the new SIM and the SIM number, and then enter in the new Resideo radio, and you've now qualified for a rebate even with your competitive swaps out there, okay? So again, up to $55 on any swap that you're doing from Resideo, okay? Any questions, again, anyone on my team or again, Michael Larkin will be glad to walk you through that. So hopefully, I know I've gone through a lot of this. Hopefully you've picked up 1 or 2 strategies with your existing customer base here. You know, I do want to talk about quickly what's Resideo's plan for the future, and particularly with cellular send sets. You know, do I believe that 5G will be the last one? Probably not. There'll probably be some technology that goes from there. But, you know, we are doing some incredible things internally since we spun to make sure that that next sunset for you is going to be very, very simple. Okay. And it's going to be also very easy for your customers. If you're not familiar with our new Pro Series panel, very modular in design, very easy for a end user, and it literally does have a end user replaceable, hot swappable card into it now. So you see our Pro Series, the back of the panel right here, it's all modular now. So if you haven't looked at our Pro Series, I would encourage you to look at it. It really is the future for our company. If you see there the communication device, I actually have one here sitting in my hands. It's just a card that your consumer on the next sunset, hopefully it's a long time away, they would just pull this out of the unit, pop it right in. Okay. The system's also modular from the standpoint of even adding Z-Wave, takeover, Wi-Fi modules, all very easy for you to be able to market and just swap pieces on it. Okay. Our newer communicators that you'll see us releasing kind of into second quarter will also be looking at hot swappable communication devices. But our goal is to make sure that it is very, very simple for you in the future to be able to just mail the next device to them and have them swap it themselves. Okay. So that's really our future plans, is to make sure that as we know these sunsets will continue to occur in our industry, it's just natural, more speed, more demand. You know, I can't even fathom what technology will look like in 5 years, the things that we will be doing with our mobile devices. But we are already thinking about that and making sure that from your customer standpoint and your standpoint, we're going to make that as easy as possible for you. Okay. If you would like to learn anything about Pro Series and you haven't kind of looked at it yet, we do have a great online course that's there for you. All you got to do is kind of scan that QR code there, and it's actually an online self-trained course. We actually have two courses there. One is for our technical teams and one is for kind of the sales team there. But very, very simple courses to take if you'd like to have more information on our Pro Series panel. And then finally, guys, you know, we have a great team out there for you. You know, Larkin, Mike Larkin is obviously your guy there in Ohio, along with Chase. But any questions that we can help you with this, you know, please don't hesitate to reach out to our team. You know, Dale, that's my presentation for today. Thanks for having me. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I know there's lots of, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of questions out there, but whatever I can answer, I'm glad to be able to take those questions at this point.
So given that they're all muted,
Yeah.
hopefully they'll figure out how to unmute themselves, because that's
Okay.
obviously a Zoom thing. But
Yeah.
so I'll start with one question.
Yeah.
You were talking about the adding a $5 per month for the
Yeah.
future type of for dealers that are, you know, installing new systems today going forward.
Right.
Are you seeing them trending towards that they're automatically rolling that in without that being an option, and they're just kind of pre-building it into the process?
Yeah, so we're seeing a couple of different strategies. One, we're seeing consumer, or at least businesses, just, hey, it's part of our program, Mr. Customer. Your monitoring is X. It includes a $5, you know, communication upgrade assurance, or some of them are even making that number a little bit higher and including like basic service in that fee. Okay. You know, now I do encourage you as a dealer, though, to make sure that when you're billing your customer, make sure and separate the charges so that your consumer sees exactly what they're paying for. That way you don't worry about attrition as much. And by that, I mean, if they ever compare you to maybe a competitor that's all of a sudden offering something less expensive, right, they can look at the bill and go, yeah, you know, I could get that too if I got rid of my maintenance and my other services that I'm paying for. But we are, and I would tell you, you know, I was even as a dealer gravitating more to a monthly service fee or maintenance fee, whatever you want to call it. I hate to use the word maintenance, right? That implies that you've got some scheduled thing. So I always called it a service call. And the reason I was doing that is that you know, in my company at the time, we had grown to about 25,000 monitored accounts. You know, I've got 80 plus employees. And I just started seeing the conversations we were having with customers over service charges. And I'm sure everybody in this call can kind of sympathize with me, right? The consumer's paying X per month, and they think that includes all this stuff, right? And when you needed to do service or have that conversation about replacing a battery or something, oh no, I'm paying you for that. I'm not paying you any extra for this service charge or this trip or whatever it is. And what we found is if we could kind of avoid those conversations, because let's face it, guys, every conversation of that type you have is an opportunity for the customer to start shopping you. Does that make sense? Right? So we wanted to take those conversations away. So we actually started charging we just called it a repair, it was just our service charge, and it was built in. And if you ever needed, a battery replaced, or any basic service work, other than, acts of God, flood, lightning, or, rodents or something, it was built into our service agreement. The great thing was, man, I saw the stress level of my service department start going down because they weren't like having these like difficult conversations every time they were trying to collect from a customer. And, I was actually making money at this because, we were averaging about $10 a month in the service charge or for the program. And, when you think about it, when I looked at most of my accounts at the end of 3 to 5 years, most of the time at 5 years, the most we were doing with those accounts was having to go change a battery out. Okay. And I promise you, at $10 a month, $120 a year, when year 5 rolled around, it was time for a battery replacement. That battery cost me what, $20 in a trip charge or whatever, rolling a truck. I made money on charging for service, okay, or at least charging monthly for service. And guess what? I wasn't having those conversations anymore with customers about their damn bills, and giving them a reason to shop me every time it came around to a battery replacement. And let's face it, man, everybody on this call today, if someone called you up today and say, hey, I want to see about switching to you because X company wants to charge me $75 to come swap a battery out, and I've been with them for 5 years, I bet there's not one person on this call that wouldn't give them that battery, right? And probably connect them for no charge to now gain that customer, correct? So I'm a big believer in that communications assurance program, and I'm even a big believer in a service charge. Just you build it in each month. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it makes sense. I mean, if you can solve their problems before they have them,
yeah,
then you're ahead of the game. So
right. Yeah. And again, if I can just start taking away those conversations that make them think about shopping, or at least reevaluating their commitment to my company, I want to avoid those thoughts and those conversations whenever possible. Yeah.
Well, and quite honestly, if the only relationship you have with your customer is you're the cheapest, then you really haven't built much of a relationship.
Absolutely.
Hey, Dale.
Yes, sir.
Dale, I'd love to just make one. I've got to sign off here because I have a commitment, but I would just like to thank Resideo, Quentin, and Mike for conducting this. This was really, really informative. And believe me, I picked up a lot of things. We're already well into this, but you have pointed out some really good strategies for doing this. And plus, I totally agree with you that this is an opportunity to get with our customers. This is not a negative thing. No. This is every time you talk to a customer, you go to a customer's home, it's a positive thing. And you can also ask for referrals when you're talking to the customers. I mean, there's so many reasons to talk to the customers, but this should be an opportunity for you, not a negative thing like, oh, we have to do this. No, this is great. And if you don't have enough people, you're better to hire some more people to do this. Yeah. So,
as an industry, I believe we have got to start looking at this untapped opportunity, which is our existing customers. Okay. And we're not routinely marketing to these existing customers. Some of them have been with us 10, I mean, Alan, I'm sure you can point to customers who have been with you for 20 years. Okay. And how many times have you really, how many times have you really communicated to them? And think about the opportunities are there. And here's my thing, guys, even if someone's not knocking on that customer's door, they're seeing so many new things on TV today that are just, well, the thing is, your customers probably don't know half of what you offer as a business. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but they're seeing things on TV every day about the new smart home or this camera or this doorbell. And
Right.
because you haven't communicated with them that that's part of your portfolio of products and services, you don't even get a chance to win that back. They've already picked up the phone and called for that service and gotten it with someone else. Okay. And
Right.
I just think that as an industry, we continue to organically go out there and find new business, but we also start to realize that, man, if I've got this group of customers that are already paying me each month, there's an opportunity here over the course of that customer's lifetime with me to sell them additional services, new RMR products. There's just so many opportunities there for you to grow your business, just with your
Right.
existing customer base. And as I
I
said
agree.
earlier, we're seeing a lot of acquisitions from some of these big, large, what I call investment house type of companies that go, I want to buy that company because there's 25,000 customers there that I can not only collect recurring revenue on, but man, I bet I can grow the base there because I'm going to bring in a marketing team that's going to really market to that existing customer base. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Quentin, I'm
Yeah.
going to sign off, but thank you.
Great seeing you again, buddy. Yeah, great seeing you. Yeah.
You can continue to take questions if you'd like.
Yeah.
I want to let people go that have to go for whatever reason. But thank you so much for doing this, Quentin. This was
Yeah,
fabulous.
glad to be a part of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Glad to be a part of it. Thanks.
So we do have, obviously a lot of people muted, but anybody that has questions, feel free to jump in. I was going to ask, I know we've got Jeff and Brant from Quick Response. I just was wondering if they had any thoughts from a monitoring station standpoint, kind of what they're seeing on their wave of this, because obviously they're a piece of that puzzle, pretty big chunk of it too. So
Yeah, thanks, Dale. We do receive reports from a couple of providers, including AlarmNet, who provides us with reports on the transition of accounts from 3G to LTE. We do forward that to our dealers. So
Awesome.
if you're one of our dealers and you're not getting that information from us, please inquire, because we do get a list of accounts that are still 3G accounts. I think it looks like it's a fairly slow transition from our point of view. But let me also say that a couple of the other providers do also provide us with data on accounts that are 3G accounts that need to be migrated as well. But I'm not sure if that answers your question, Dale. But I hope it provides a little bit of insight. I would encourage anyone to talk to their central station if they're not with us, or to talk with us if you have any concerns about your existing central station, and on what we can do to help. We have been sending out communication to our dealers to remind them of these sunsets, and to start taking action now rather than waiting until the last minute. Like Quentin, I remember the old AMPS transition. I think many of us on the call remember that.
Yeah.
And how people did fall off as customers. And I know as a central station who provides resale service for some of these products, including AlarmNet, Connect24, Telyor, Uplink, and I'm trying to remember if Numerex was Uplink. If I'm missing one, I apologize. Oh, Alula, we are a reseller of as well. Mm-hmm. Our policy is that as Quentin suggested, our policy is that when that transition of 3G sunset ends, we stop billing you and for the old 3G radios, because the service providers will stop billing us. Mm-hmm. So if you continue to bill your customer for a radio that doesn't exist. I think the liabilities, as Quentin was suggesting earlier, mounts as that
Yes.
time goes on.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent upon the dealers to communicate with their central station and as well as their customers to ensure that there's continuity all the way across the board.
Yeah. And Jeff, my point on that is really around, let's say a tragedy happens after the sunset and you had continued to bill. You are not going to be able to hide behind the fact, well, I notified you so many times and you didn't do it. That the judge or the attorney is going to say, well, but you kept charging that customer for a service you couldn't render. So there was a certain expectation, so you got to be really, really careful with that one. The other opportunity too, I didn't really kind of mention too, is that if you get this done ahead of time, I think there's opportunity for dealers that now you've got the bandwidth for what I call takeovers. There's going to be a lot of accounts that don't get done in time. And when they finally realize they're not being monitored, they call the company they were with. Why didn't you get this done for me? Wait, you're telling me it's going to be 2 weeks before you can come and do this and I'm not being monitored. They're going to pick up the phone and call someone else. And that could be you who've already done this project. Okay. And you now have an opportunity to go out there and maybe do some takeovers. I know during the AMPS deal that happened with us, we saw it during the 2G2. So it's another incentive to get it done, and again, the other risk too, as I said, if you wait to the end, you're not going to be able to organically go out there and do new business. You're just going to be using every resource you have to upgrade these accounts, and you won't have time to really add new business to your to your company. So, but all good points, Jeff. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, and I think you raise an interesting point there, and I was going to ask you about is there a sense of where the industry stands in percentage of conversions? I mean, are we 10% of the way done, or are we are we scratching the surface, or are we nearing the end zone?
Yeah.
Which way should we be looking at this? I mean,
Yeah. So I guess I can't tell you percentages from Resideo. I think what has at least encouraged me is we've seen a sense of urgency since January 1. So it was a little, there were a lot of meetings internally, man, where we're like, what the hell are these guys waiting on? We're scratching our heads like what's going on. And now we're seeing the swaps are they're just steadily increasing every day and every week. So it seems like dealers are now taking it seriously. The thing though that I don't perceive anything on our end, but there's another risk that I hesitate to mention, but I'm going to mention. Okay, we are still, from a manufacturing side, not just on our industry, but in every industry, and every manufacturer is facing severe shortage of components and materials on the world market. Okay, I would encourage you, for another reason to get started on this project, is that I was reading yesterday, Ford in Louisville shut down 2 of their lines because they cannot get enough chips to make trucks in a certain passenger car. We are already seeing, certain components are getting tougher and tougher for us to find on the world market. Okay, and that's that's for, I was amazed the other day. I was in a Walmart picking up something. I think it was in I was picking up a game for my grandson's Nintendo. And I noticed, man, there's not many TVs in here. And then a guy comes up to buy a TV, and the Walmart guy goes, well, we only have these 2 right now, and that's all I have, when normally the aisle would be just TVs everywhere. And, everything, man. My wife and I, we've got a Great Dane puppy who decided to chew on our couch. And we went to buy a couch at the furniture store last week. 22 weeks for me to get a couch right now. Yep. Okay. I need it. My microwave blew up. Mr. Gunther, I don't have that one. I'm expecting them sometime in May. We'll call you when that microwave comes in. So I've got this cheap $49 microwave from Walmart sitting in a hole, and I'm glad to have gotten that microwave. So, I would tell you guys, as you run your business for this, we don't anticipate any issues. But please keep that in just about anything you're purchasing right now or doing for your business. it's going to be a while till we catch up from this COVID world that we've been in from a manufacturing standpoint. It really is, and I think all manufacturers are concerned that this did take a little while for dealers to realize the importance of getting it done. Now, all of a sudden, they're just deluged with just getting enough devices manufactured in time to get all this done. Okay. So the sooner, the better for all of us on this upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Dale, just to chime in there on your question, if you want to know, I just looked very briefly on the latest report we received from AlarmNet, which, Resideo, is about, to give you a guesstimate, about 50% of the Resideo or AlarmNet subscribers out there are still on non-LTE.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's just an our central station. I can't tell you how other central stations compare, but looking quickly at the data and why this is important, the overwhelming majority of those non-LTE units that we're currently monitoring are on AT&T.
Wow.
So, and now it is dropping 1 or 2% a week of what so there are some dealers that are doing converting a lot. I'm sure there's others that are hoping that to push it off even further, unfortunately. But my guess is we're probably that's probably a good number to use as an industry right now.
Sure.
Is 50%.
Well,
But
I
that's
think
still a long way to go.
and I was going to say, I think we are notoriously procrastinators in this industry, so that wouldn't surprise me in the least. So,
Well, I think it's just human nature to be procrastinators, at least for some of us. And,
right.
and I get it, man. We're all running our businesses just trying to do the day-to-day things that we do every day, right? We're taking the systems that have been sold or the service that needs to be done or the clients that need to be touched. And this is something that, man, it's a different pile on our desk, but it's got to be attacked. It's got to be done because, again, the risk just from a business standpoint of recurring revenue, as a dealer, that's the piece that scared the hell out of me is just the attrition piece of this, right? Is that I cannot afford, those customers were too hard and too expensive to create. I cannot afford to have this just drop off. Okay. This has got to be done. And a lot of times, as I said, when I look at the cost of organically bringing the new customer into my company, that's expensive, man. If you really sit down and look at your true costs to bring a new customer on, it's not inexpensive. And in keeping the ones you have, that just becomes more and more important when you look at those costs. Yeah. So,
very true.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep.
So you had mentioned earlier that you have sample letters and
Yep.
mailers that are available to people.
Yep.
Assuming that not all of our membership are customers of Resideo, is that only available to Resideo customers or is that available to everyone that's part of our membership?
Well, if you're not Resideo, you should be, but then let me answer it this way. So if you go to the website, anybody can go to that website and you can download those materials, okay? And if you can rework them and use them for your advantage, great. But I would also say that this is such a critical piece for any manufacturer right now that I would be very shocked that not every manufacturer doesn't have a website with similar materials available to them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So whether it's a Lula or any of our other competitors, Qualcomm, I mean, all of them probably have a landing page for their upgrades that should be able to supply you with some of these materials. But if they don't, probably more reason you ought to be doing business with Resideo, and you can use ours, by all means, okay, to notify them. Okay.
No, I appreciate it. I just wanted to at least, from a membership standpoint.
Yeah, sure.
Question.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm going to ask if there's any other questions. Otherwise, I think we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up.
Okay.
I have another one.
Yes.
Well, that's fine.
Do you have access to that PowerPoint that we could share?
I can convert it to PDF, and Dale, I can send it to you. Is that good
Yeah,
enough?
if you
Yeah.
send it to me as a PDF, then
Yep.
we actually, one of the things I was going to mention anyhow is that obviously this has been recorded for those that weren't able to attend, so we can make the PDF also available as a handout to go along with the video, so that so they can get the full, at least not live experience, but about as close as they can get to it otherwise. So